Okay, this is going to be a quick video, a brief video. It's part 2 of the law debate series that I shared some time ago. And in part 2 here, we're going to talk about the phrase law and prophets in the New Testament, especially Matthew chapter 5:17, which happens to be a big proof text for the Adventists and Messianics. So let us just get right to it. I'm just going to make this brief as possible because we covered a lot in the first video. First, what needs to be mentioned is Jesus was in the wilderness for 40 days. What does he do? He gets up and he gives his law. He said, "You've heard of old, but I tell you this." He gets up and gives his law. He's the new Moses. He's the new Moses. This is the second Exodus that we find throughout the New Testament, which was promised in the prophets. Jesus in the wilderness for 40 years. That's Israel. He's the true Israel, Jesus. Matthew chapter 1, he's the true Israel. Comes up, gives his law. Now Matthew 5:17. And I had an Adventist pastor who had a bachelor, and I think he might have even had a master's degree. He didn't understand. I asked him, what does that phrase mean when he brought up Matthew 5:17? I'm reading from the New King James. "Do not think that I come to destroy the law of the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill." I said, what does that phrase mean, the law and prophets? He had no answer. Very simply, the phrase law or prophets means the entirety of the Tanakh, the Old Testament. The law is the first 5 books, the Pentateuch. Then you had the prophets. That represents the whole of the New Testament. He's not referring to the Ten Commandments here. Not at all. He's referring to the entirety of the law. The Greek word nomos. The law. The law with the definite article in front of it. The law, in most cases, refers to the Torah, the entirety of the law, not just the 10 Commandments. So, do not think that I come to destroy the law of the prophets. That's the Tanakh, that's the Old Testament, the law and the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to fulfill. So this text actually proves too much for the Adventists. It proves way too much. And it's not really a proof text at all. It proves too much for them. Now Luke 24:44, I believe this is when he was on the road of Emmaus, and he had the 2 disciples, and he opened up their eyes to understand the kingdom. Let me see here. 24:44. And then he said, "These are the words which I spoke to you while I was still with you, that all things written in the law of Moses," he qualifies it as the law of Moses, "and the prophets and the Psalms concerning me." That's the entirety of the Old Testament. The law, Genesis to Deuteronomy, you had the prophets and the Psalms. Then he opened their understanding that they might comprehend the scriptures. That the Messiah had to suffer to enter into his glory. That's what he's teaching them there on the road of Emmaus. Now let's go to John 1:45. This will be our last text. So Matthew 5:17, the big proof text from the Adventists, it actually proves too much for them. Proves too much. John 1:45. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, "We have found him of whom Moses in the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." He's speaking obviously of more than just the Decalogue, the 10 Commandments there. So, you look at any lexicon, any commentary, the law, when you see that phrase, 9 times out of 10 it refers to Torah, the entirety of the law, not just the Decalogue, as the Adventists like to say. And the Adventists picked this up from the Roman Catholic Church because they first taught this dual law theory. So the Adventists hate the Catholic Church, and yet they borrow their soteriology, their understanding of salvation. We're saved, justified by faith and works, and the dual law theory they borrowed from Rome as well. Very fascinating. Okay, that's the end of part 2.